Welcome to another edition of Dentalpreneur Secrets. And I am so excited to have you here today. And by the time we finish our conversation, you're going to know everything you need to know about insurance and really how to use it as a tool to grow your revenue in your practice. You're going to walk away with some actionable ideas to help you focus on your business and focus on that top line revenue. And you're going to feel empowered to make even better decisions around your insurance. And we have a fantastic guest for you today. I am so excited. We've got Nick Partridge, founder and president of Five Lakes Dental Solutions. And he helps dentists just like you develop, implement, and manage an insurance participation program for your practice that's going to help you attract patients, retain patients, and more importantly, maximize your reimbursements. Nick, welcome to the show.
Tim, thanks so much. I'm really excited to be here today, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to sit down and chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are talking about something so important for you listening today, and that is insurance. And insurance is mystifying. It's, sometimes confusing, but it also is a big driver of revenue. And so, just as a little background, tell us a little bit how you got started and why you do what you do.
Yeah, so, we've been doing this for quite a while now, almost 11 years. What happened was I started a company with some friends of mine, and we were trying to create a dental benefit plan that would compete with dental insurance. And it was really a self-funded plan. So we were acting with the TPA. And so I was going out and trying to recruit dentists into our network. And I realized that they didn't have a strong command of insurance. We were trying to figure out, did we need to have a lot of employees in our program to attract a lot of dentists, or did we need to have a lot of dentists to attract a lot of employers? And it was kind of a chicken and the egg. And so I was always afraid when I would go and try to get dentists to join our network of the question of how many employees will you have that I can make patients in my office, right? And what's the upside for me? Because the answer was not enough, right? We were just getting started. And no one ever asked me that question. And so ultimately, we ended up closing the business down. We didn't get enough employers to come on board. But the result of that was that I felt that there was really an opportunity to help dental practices think more strategically about insurance, because I felt like insurance was growing and it was going to become a much more significant force in their practice. And I was, working with benefits brokers all day on pitching employers and helping them with those proposals. And I just felt like that the market was changing such that dentists needed to be better prepared for dealing with insurance. And so here we are almost 11 years later, and we serve over 1,000 clients across all 50 states.
Well, right. You talk about dealing with insurance. And I know, right, if you're listening to this, you may be thinking, I've got a front desk, I've got an office manager, they're dealing with insurance for me. So what do you mean when you start thinking systematically and proactively about your insurance and the participation? What does that look like?
Well, if I start at the beginning, when you say insurance, and I'm sure this resonates with you. I mean, when you say the word insurance, people just naturally kind of purse up, right? Nobody likes to talk about insurance because it never covers enough and it always costs too much, right? We could be talking about homeowners insurance or life insurance or car insurance or dental insurance, right? Or health insurance, you name it. So naturally there's this kind of inclination, especially in dental practices, because as you know, in a PPO environment, the insurance companies to participate require that you take a lower fee as payment in full. So to do that, you've got to jump through some hoops, filing claims and getting paid and submitting records and all that stuff. And then you end up getting a lower amount, right? And so there's this natural kind of, I don't want to call it like animosity, but there's this just natural maybe feeling of, I'm not crazy about this whole thing. And so, but at its core, dental insurance works really well. Right? So dental insurance was designed as a benefit for employees. And what's been proven out over time is that people with dental insurance are 2.5 times more likely to visit the dentist. And so from the employer's perspective, that's what they were looking to accomplish. what do I want to do as an employer? I want my employees to go to the dentist and get their regular care. And I'd like to help, with some kind of program that would offset the cost or help reduce the cost, right? And that's what it was designed for, those two things. So very simply, it actually works really well. And what you'll find is that it drives a lot of patient visits. So as much as we don't like in the dental world dealing with dental insurance, it drives a lot of patient visits. Now, the application of dental insurance across the industry is where you start to have challenges, right? Because of the way it works and who it favors and things like that. So, so I think if we think about dental insurance intrinsically being a pretty good offering in terms of getting people to the dentist and helping reduce cost, then we have to start thinking about, okay, well, what do we need to know about dental insurance to harness the value in seeing some of those patient visits, right? And so if you look across the landscape today, you're going to find that I saw this study recently from Guardian. It said that 85% of their members go to an in-network dentist. So without throwing too many numbers around, the numbers have grown. So when we started the company in 2010, the numbers have grown such that now 80% of Americans have a dental benefit. So you have 80% of Americans with a dental benefit. They go to the dentist more frequently. And when they go to the dentist, almost always they choose an in-network dentist, right? So you've got this mounting kind of force that the dentists have to kind of deal with today, which in the past they didn't have to. And so getting back to your question was, I think the change has been, the prevalence of dental benefits, right? It's so much more prevalent today than it was 10 or 15 years ago. And what's happened was a lot of the plans originally were indemnity plans, which meant, hey, we'll just reimburse you, go to any dentist that you choose, and we'll reimburse you. And the dentist would file his or her claim at their office rate and be reimbursed accordingly. And that's been almost pretty much wiped out. I think dental indemnity plans represent only a few percent of the market anymore. It's been almost fully replaced by PPOs, which do require you to take that reduced rate. So you've got this prevalence of dental benefits. You've got the fact that it used to be easier to work with because you got your full fee. Now you don't. You get much less than your full fee, and so these compounding factors have really made it have really brought it to the forefront, I think, in a dental office.
Well, and I just want to pause there because those statistics are mind-blowing, Nick, right? 80% of the population has dental insurance, and they are 2.5 times more likely to go to the dentist versus 20% of the population that doesn't have that 2.5 times as likely. And like you said, right, if you're in this world, if you're a dentist, you want to be playing with that 80% who's more likely to show up, right? You want to attract them.
Yeah, well, and I think, what's happened over time, and is arguably a lot of people are chasing a small piece of the pie, right? And so from a standpoint of going in network, it just made sense because as so many offices were fee for service and then that market started to dwindle, I read from Levin's study in dental economics, I think 10% of offices today are fee for service.
Wow.
So a lot of people just started going in network to have access to those patients. And so then all of a sudden you had this like tsunami almost where there was just this flood of people going in network. I mean, if you look at the statistics from pick a dental network, Guardian, Aetna, Cigna, Delta, their network size has grown dramatically over the past 10 years, right? So we used to be in a situation where they'd have maybe 200,000 access points. It's over 400,000 access points. I mean, they've probably doubled, right? I'd have to go back and give you the exact numbers, but my hunch is, you've seen near doubling of the dental networks over the last 10 years in size.
Yeah. Right. So we've got these networks, we should go join them. And you and I were talking earlier about a startup practice that you were working with. And this doctor really wanted to be in network because she understood the benefits. And there was a special patient that she wanted to have in network, mainly a family member. And so she consulted with you. And what happened through that? What was that process like?
Yeah, well, so I think I think our message is, because of this, it's being in network now is not a differentiator like it used to be. And so, and the insurance companies are continuing to do things to drive their claims costs down, right? Which is the majority of where their money goes. So, so you've got to do it better. You've got to be smarter about what you're doing as it relates to insurance. And so that's what we do. And we had a woman that we worked with, and she's a longtime client, one of my favorites. And when she was starting out, she said, "Hey, my aunt is in this plan. I got to be in this plan. I want my aunt to come see me and be in network." And so we said, "Okay." So I said, "I don't think that that's a good move. There's a number of adverse consequences in working with this specific insurance company, but I understand what you're trying to say. Let's evaluate. If we do this up front, tell me that we can come back later on and reevaluate this decision, because I think it would be cheaper for you to just give her dental care, or give her 50% off than it would be for you to do this, right?" And she said, "Okay, deal." So we came back after a year. We said, "Okay, look, here's how your first year went." And we said, "This is what it looked like, and this is how many patients you attracted in these different plans, and here's what the reimbursements were." And I said, "Now look at what happened with this particular network," because it had. And so what happened is they actually got in network with more networks, and it was at a lower rate than you could have gotten had you gone in those networks directly. And so it ended up costing her a ton of money, right? I think it ended up costing her like 12 or 14 grand in her first year. And so we said, it would have been much cheaper. She could have had nearly a full mouth reconstruction, at no cost, had you not decided to do this, So we ended up making the right decision, and we got out of it. But it begs the question. I mean, over time, dentists have joined plans for a variety of reasons, right? So, perhaps you're slow. The number of new patients is down, and so you say, well, let's join something. Perhaps a school district in the area said, "Hey, we're switching to this plan," so you joined it, but that was 4 plans ago. And now they were in Cigna, and then they went to Aetna, and then they went to MetLife, and now they're with Delta, and you're still in that legacy plan from before, right? So people join plans for a variety of different reasons, and what we're trying to really espouse is to have a strategy. You can't look at this and just set it and forget it. It'd be like, "Hey, I'm just going to go back to 1990 and say, I'm just going to advertise in the newspapers. That's all I'm going to do. That's my strategy," right? And then now it's 2020, and I'm sitting here going, "Man, I'm not getting any new patients anymore. What's going on? My marketing's not working." Like you can't do that with insurance because it's so fluid. It's always changing, because employers are changing plans, because insurance companies are changing the way that they operate. And your market is changing. New practices are opening up, or they're relocating, or they're being acquired, and now they're part of a DSO. And there's all this fluidity to the market that you have to address on a regular basis, because like we talked about at the beginning here, probably a majority of your patients have insurance, whether you're in network or not. And so if you looked at where your revenue comes from, checks in the door, it's got to be 40, 50, 60 or higher a percentage of your total revenue in. And so that means that requires some attention, right? That warrants some significant attention every year to come in and look and say, "Hey, where am I at? Am I aligned to my market? Am I doing this the right way in such a manner that helps me facilitate my objectives?" Because we're not saying join every plan. We're saying do what's right for your market and your practice, given where you're at and what your goals are. And that's what we help you do.
Okay. You're right, because it doesn't necessarily make sense just to join every plan, or join the one that your aunt has, because that can lead to some bad consequences. But there's also an upside to this too, right? This can serve as a way to help attract new patients and actually grow your top line revenue. You have an example of how that works, and maybe a good case study, and not one of the horror stories that are out there, a good success story that you can share with us?
Yeah. It's really interesting. So one of the things that I think has been most interesting as a business owner doing this for the last 10, 11 years is that at the end of the day, I love working with business owners, right? So I love working with dentists. I like, we're a small business, they're a small business, and I really enjoy that. And I get to see a lot of the emotion that goes into these decisions, just like I experience it in my own business, right? Should we expand our square footage because we anticipate growing, right? And I'm going to make a big financial commitment. Should we put this new system into our company? It's going to cause a lot of disruption. We're going to have to do a lot of training, but it's going to be worth it, right? I have a performance issue with this employee. What are we going to do about it? We really like, so there's all these things that I've experienced as a business owner that I share with our dentist clients. And one of them is around managing their revenue, right? Because what happens is a lot of times, and in today's world, people come in, they say, look, I want to increase my rates. I want to get more money from the insurance companies, and I want to do this right now. And it's like, well, okay. So it takes time, right? Over the course of your practice career, you have ended up here, right? And so for us to go in and evaluate where you're at in the context of your market, and then make some decisions about how to optimize and align you with your market, and then make all those changes happen with the insurance companies takes a while, right? We oftentimes will advocate that it takes a plan for about a year to get your insurance all set up the way you want it to be, right? So we're going to undo and redo and sometimes keep things that you've been doing to get it optimized for a year. And then when we make these changes, then it also takes time to take effect, right? So like if we're going to add a plan, patients don't come to the dentist like they go to the grocery store, right? So if I say, hey, we do the study in the market, we say, oh, there's a really good opportunity for you to join Guardian in this market, right? So you don't have very many Guardian patients today. And so while we're going to be giving those people a discount now that they were not getting before, and there's a cost associated with that, so we need to get to a break even. We need to attract this many patients to break even. We think we can go way beyond that. So we join, right? And then we watch and we measure the results for our clients. And what happens is over time, you're going to see that number in many cases go in the right direction, right? So we've had situations where clients have joined plans and they've added hundreds of patients, so if you do marketing on top of joining a plan, it even further exacerbates it where you can have really good numbers. And so we've had clients who say, hey, listen, if I'm patient over the course of time, I've seen tremendous results. Growing in the plans we've joined, maybe paring back and leaving some of the plans that aren't necessary or aren't appropriate for your market, increasing your reimbursements in different areas. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. We've seen significant improvement in practices in terms of, but I want to say that in the context of it doesn't happen overnight, because I was just at the dentist 2 months ago. If I didn't have a good experience and I'm in the market for a dentist, I'm not back in the market for like another 4 to 5 months. And if I'm shopping, I'm probably not going to hit my 6-month number perfectly, right? Like if I'm going to the same dentist, they pre-appoint you, you're back in 6 months, almost to the day, right? But if I'm shopping, it's something I'm putting off, right? Because I'm like, oh yeah, that's something I got to do. That means I got to get online. I got to look at a couple of websites. I got to ask my neighbors or my coworkers or my family, like who they recommend. It's a project, right? So you're going to go less often. So for you to join a plan and then to get the word out there that you're now in that plan, and then for people to start responding accordingly and coming in, it takes time, right? So this is when I talk about a participation strategy, I'm talking about a strategy because I'm talking about a longer term time horizon. To do it right isn't something you just come in and do and fix in 3 months. It doesn't work that way. This is something that we're going to work on for like a good couple of years to get you up and running and moving as efficiently as possible, as profitably as possible. And then guess what? We're constantly evaluating it because, like I said, all the inputs into these decisions constantly change. So you're sitting there and you're just monitoring this and you're making changes. And then your practice changes. You say, hey, things are going so well, I'm going to add an associate. Okay, great. All right, that's a new wrinkle, right? So we've got a lot of situations where the provider, then the owner provider says, oh, this is an opportunity for me to pare back in my insurance. And we're going to load up the associate and they're going to take a bunch of plans so that we still get the new patient flow coming in, but I get to work on my patients who I've got good, deep relationships with, and I can do it a little bit more profitably. And so that brings up another opportunity, right? So you're going to hit life cycle moments too in your practice where your goals are going to change or your realities are going to change. And so those are also additional inputs into the equation.
Yeah, I mean, right. This is so different from the idea of you just join a couple plans and you just kick back for the next couple of years where everything comes in. This is an active strategy where you really are analyzing what's going on in your practice. Where are the patients coming from? Are they the right kind of patients? And always updating and making changes. So I love that you talk about it really is a strategy. It's not a one-time thing. This is a process and a continual process, much like good wealth planning, right? You always are updating things because life isn't static. Things change, and you always want to be on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it's so funny because one of the reasons I was really excited about doing this and about our relationship is just that I think there's a lot of parallels between financial planning and what we do, because you can't execute without a plan. I don't know anybody who got wealthy without a plan, right? Unless you're born into it, right? So you have to have a plan, and I think we facilitate that wealth building, right? That wealth accumulation. So part of our plan is based on how do we drive revenue to the practice? How do we increase the income so that the doctor can do more from a wealth building standpoint, right? And maybe their desire is to buy other practices, or it's to buy real estate, or it's to invest in the market, or it's to do whatever with, but that's the objective, is that we help in that process. And to do that, just like in financial planning, you got to have a plan.
Yep. Yeah. You got to have a roadmap. You got to know where you're going, right? Look at where you are now, where you want to go, and then what are those gaps, right? And more importantly, how do you start closing those gaps?
Right.
So when it comes to the insurance, I know a lot of times I've heard people wonder, can you negotiate with these companies? How do you negotiate with these companies? How do you leave a plan? And right, how do you join a plan, right? How many plans are out there? And so, why is this something that maybe my front desk shouldn't be doing? Why would I consider, working with someone like you as opposed to doing it in-house?
That's a good question. We get that a lot. So, I think the scenario that I want to paint here is who you're up against, right? So we work with the insurance companies, and they're wonderful people, right? So I think when we think about this, we get frustrated. Oh, they denied this claim, and oh, they made me do this or that, or they took money back, or they shortchanged my last claim check or whatever. But they're good people, and they're out to provide affordable care for their members, right? That's what they're trying to do, according to the plan that usually is purchased by the employer. So you have this really strange dynamic where the patient and the doctor are engaged in treatment, but they got there because they had coverage through their employer with an insurance company, right? And so you have kind of non-integrated parts kind of dictating the situation. And so it creates for some disconnects. And so as we look at this, we say, okay, you're up against these really big companies, and they're changing the rules on a regular basis, right? And we talked about all these things that are changing. So how are you going to dedicate the time to do this? Because MetLife is a $50 billion company. Now, I didn't look at their market share here recently. That's just I'm ballparking it. They're big, right? They're very big. They're Goliath, and you're David. You're about $1 million, $2 million practice. So they've got way more resources at their disposal. They've got way more access to information at their disposal than you do. So how are you going to task someone in your office to spend a few hours to get this thing figured out? Right? It's not to say that there haven't been people that have been successful doing that, but we talk to tons and tons of people on the phone on a regular basis who say, I have tried to do this. My doctor tasked me with this. I've been researching this for months. Or when they sit down and we go through our analysis with them, much like you would show them a financial plan, they say, oh my God, it would have taken me 6 months to put this together, to go and collect all this information and to assemble it and analyze it in this fashion. I don't know that I would be able to do that, right? So I'm not saying that people at the front desk or people that are tasked with revenue cycle responsibilities in a practice can't do this. I'm just saying it's not efficient to do it that way. We have clients in all 50 states. We work with every insurance company. We've seen and done a tons to be able to give people strategic guidance along, hey, don't do that. That's, that hasn't worked out well for people, or do that. That's great. We can, we try not to reinvent the wheel, right? So you're not the first person who's facing this dilemma or this challenge. And so we can help you. And we can help you because we work with all these insurance companies across clients, all over the country. So so we kind of level the playing field a little bit with MetLife. Now, we don't share fee schedules. We don't say, okay, well, this office over here got this, and so you should be able to get this. But we do have a sense of, kind of what is reasonable for the area, given our ability to analyze statistics as well. So, every practice we deal with individually, but we really help level the playing field because it is complicated. It's not just about negotiating. So yes, we do negotiate. Yes, most insurance companies will negotiate with you, but it depends on a variety of different factors. Well, I was in a negotiation the other day with the team because the doctor said, hey, I really want to get my team's input on what we should be negotiating. And they said, okay, well, we want to negotiate these codes. And I said, okay, well, let's let the data bear it out. Okay, so send me your production for the last 12 months. And we looked at the production for the last 12 months. And I said, now send me the list of the codes that you feel like we should negotiate. And they didn't match up at all, right? So what you want to be doing is you want to be focusing on the codes that are going to drive the most value, right? So don't go and negotiate code that is downgraded, right? So a lot of times what will happen is insurance companies, so fillings are oftentimes downgraded. Okay, so if you go and negotiate the filling code, well, all you've done is create a bigger IOU for the patient because the insurance company is not reimbursing off that anyway, right? So the insurance company will say, yeah, sure, I'll negotiate that, right? You want to take that from 200 to 250? No problem, because they don't actually pay on that code. So all you've done is make the difference between what the patient owes substantially more. So there's things like that you want to factor in, or there's codes that just, doctor wanted to do dentures. And I'm like, doctor, if you look at the production, 12 sets of dentures last year. Why are we doing dentures? We're not going to negotiate that because you're just wasting an opportunity. They're going to increase you here at the expense of somewhere that's more valuable, right? So yes, you can negotiate, but how you negotiate, what you negotiate, where you're negotiating from, what you're using to make your case, all those things matter. And so we help try to do that. We've got a 20-point process that we go through, basically answering all these questions about what we're trying to accomplish, what we're willing to risk, what we think is reasonable, what are, why we feel that way, what codes are going to drive the most value, and so, all these different things. So we really hammer it pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, excellent. And as you and I are talking, Nick, here, Dan Sullivan, the famous business coach of Strategic Coach and one of the granddaddies of coaching, right? Deep experiences. His latest book is out, and it's a concept that he teaches to his coaching clients. And the name of the book is called Who, Not How. And I just absolutely love that. Oh, how funny is that? There you go.
Read that one?
Yeah, that one right there. You just got it. And Ben Harding writes the intro, right? It's so good, right? You want to focus on the who can do this for you, not the how. And I always find there's kind of two kinds of dentists in the world. And if you're listening to this, you're probably going to identify either as a clinician and your job is to go in and go do dentistry and go home, or you're going to identify as a business owner, as the entrepreneur. And if you're that entrepreneur, if you're that business owner, you know the importance of like Nick just showed, finding the who, not the how. And if you're looking for that ability to negotiate, to get the insurance, to really build that strategy, then you want to find the who. You don't want to work on the how. Let someone else do it for you so you can focus on your business. How funny is you got that book? I just pre-ordered mine too.
Tim, I'm a big Dan Sullivan fan. I agree. I was in Strategic Coach last year, and I really espouse a lot of the values. So I couldn't agree with you more. And what's funny to me is you recognize that when you talk to folks, right? And I'm that way too, right? I think as a good business owner, you have some responsibility to be a steward of your own assets, right? So there's some times where I'm like, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to figure it out, right? I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to invest whatever time it takes because it means a lot to me. We just had a client in New York do the same thing. He calls up, he says, listen, I've been working on this. I have 6 practices. I've been working on this for my 1 practice. I'm like 45 days in. I've got all these offers from the insurance companies. And he's like, I'm just a little worried that I might mess it up. I've gotten this far, but like, I don't know what to do next. He's like, can you help me on this one and just make sure I got it right? And we're like, yeah, of course. Right. Like I don't want you to make you dependent on me. That's not the objective, right? The objective, part of this is the heart of a teacher, is we want to teach you along the way. A big facet of our program is education, is training. And so absolutely. And so turns out he brings on his other offices. We're in regular communication. He's a fantastic guy. And he's always saying, man, I'm so glad that I got you guys in to take me over the edge here. And then look, because of what you were able to show me, I learned a lot more. I thought I knew a lot, but I only knew a fraction. And you opened up this whole world to me. And, and so I'm very happy to bring all my other offices over so that I know that they're being real well taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so true. So, let's touch on the pandemic, right? We're still in the midst of a pandemic here. And I know, I'm kind of wondering, and you may be wondering too, well, what's happening with the benefits world right now, right? We've got lots of layoffs, unemployment going lower. Have you seen that have any of an impact in terms of what networks to go to and which ones not to?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I tell you, that this is the perfect example for you, that you can't set it and forget it, because what's happened over the last year has been really unprecedented, I think, with insurance companies. So a lot of insurance companies have reached out to help. They've done a lot of different financial programs. 28 different insurance companies offered PPE reimbursement programs. So there's been a lot of different things that insurance companies have tried to do. At the same time, some of the insurance companies have taken a much more aggressive stance, and they've reduced rates, or they've stopped negotiating, or their timelines to process applications has been expanded because of the fact that people are working from home. So depending on which insurance company you're talking about, you've seen all kinds of different things happen. And this is in the same time that practices were shut down, and they come back and they have all these PPE requirements. And so while the insurance companies were very, very aggressive about coming in and helping out, most of their programs were temporary. But the PPE requirements aren't going to go anywhere, right? So most of the PPE programs have at this point expired, but doctors are still buying and wearing lots and lots of PPE. And so you have this very kind of challenging situation in which you're bearing these new PPE costs, and capacity is down. A lot of times offices were having either a hard time getting PPE or staff, right? And maybe a lot of their staff didn't come back, so they had to start over. So there was a lot of training involved and all that, or they're putting people in positions that they weren't ready to be in yet. Maybe, hey, I need you to go to the front desk. Okay, I don't know anything about the front desk, but I'll give it a shot. So it's a challenging environment. And then you have demand, which the ADA is saying is right about 80% of what it used to be pre-pandemic, right? So you have a reduction in capacity, you have a reduction in demand, you have an increase in costs. And so it's a challenging environment in an environment that was already in a situation where DSOs were growing rapidly, right? So there's consolidation happening. And insurance companies are acting and just kind of doing what they normally do, right? Changing the rules. And so it's very difficult. And so we've had a lot of offices react in different ways. So we've had fee-for-service that have said, you know what, this is it. I feel bad. I know a lot of my patients have lost their jobs, and so I want to go in network because I want to be able to offer more affordable care. I want to help do what I can to get them to feel comfortable to come in and see me and go in network. We've had offices at the same time who've said, hey, I can no longer support these insurance reimbursement rates because I just have all these costs, and now my schedule is smaller than it used to be. I can't see as many people, and so I want to get off some of these plans. So we're going through that. So the reactions have been mixed, as you might expect, but there's certainly been a lot of reactions. There's been a lot of activity around what's your practice at now, and how does that change from where we were, and does that change our expectations? Does that mean we need to do something different? So it's been a very, very busy year.
Yeah. Well, right. And what I really hear is now is an opportune time to take a look at your plans and what's going on, and are the ones you're in still meeting your requirements? Are there better plans that you can get maybe with employers who have businesses that are booming instead of some of these businesses that have not been able to reopen up to full capacity? So there may be a real opportunity to look at what's going on in your practice. And it sounds like now is an opportune time to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you look at the who has dental benefits, virtually because of Medicaid's expansion, virtually every child has under 18 has a benefit. So I think it's like 90 something percent. And then most of the people that are 18 to 65 have benefits from work. And those are the people that we're not quite sure about, right? The unemployment rate spiked, and then, a lot of people went back to work, and now it's kind of ebbing and flowing along. So we're not kind of sure where that's going to settle and what the impact's going to be. And then if you look at it 65 and over, because there's no Medicaid and Medicare dental benefit, those people oftentimes don't have benefit plans, dental benefits. So one of the things we're espousing, regardless of whether or not you make a move or make a change with insurance, is number one is look at your office fees. Make sure that your office fees are set appropriately. And that's probably the time to start working in some of the costs that you're bearing relative to PPE. And number two is make sure that you have a membership plan in place at the office. Because if there are folks that lose their benefits or didn't have benefits to start, at least give them some kind of alternative option with a membership plan in your practice.
Yeah, good words of wisdom, and I think once again, as I'm kind of listening to this and going through it, one of the things we do here at Dentalpreneur Advisors is we help you build an amazing life of significance, and we define that when you can do three things really well. You can take care of the people you love, you can support the causes you care about, and really make that difference in the world. And to have those three things going, one of the things that drives that is wealth creation, right? Being able to build wealth, being able to build that business. And this strategy is so much more than just, increasing your revenues a little bit, because it's going to do a whole lot more. Not only is it going to increase your revenues, but if you're getting closer to exiting, what's that going to do to the practice valuations, Nick?
Yeah, great point, right? So there's a value in streamlining the administration of this, okay? So you have all these plans, and some you don't need to be in, some you might need to be in, right? And so we're going to look at that. We're going to clean that up. Every time that you don't have to be in a plan, it saves you another fee schedule to manage, another recredentialing app that you have to do, right? And so we want to make sure that we're efficient in our participation. We don't want to just be in everything for the sake of being in everything. We want to make sure that we're aligned to the market. Then when you can do that, then what you're looking at doing is trying to increase your rates, right? So once you've got your market, your participation set up right, then you're going to increase your rates, which is going to drive revenue to the bottom line because there's not additional costs associated with that. To your point, then, when you sell it, so not only are you going to benefit from having kind of a streamlined administration, right? It's easier to administer these plans. You're going to have incremental revenue, which is going to drive wealth creation. But then when you go and sell the practice, that bottom line has a multiplying effect too, because practices are selling at 5, 6, 8, 10 times EBITDA, right? So when you go and you're getting ready to sell a practice, it's a great thing to do, because the other thing too is at the end of the day, people want to buy projects. They don't want to buy projects. They want to buy fixed up houses, right? Move in ready. And so you've taken the time to do the hard work. You've reaped the benefit, both administratively and financially, plus on the sale, right? And then it's more attractive because people want a move in ready house, right? So they're getting a move in ready practice.
Yep. Well, and I'm so glad you brought up the house analogy, Nick, because something really strange happens with people who own houses. And if you own a house, you may have something on that house that isn't working so well. You may have that front door that needs to be fixed, or you may have that new coat of paint that the house needs, or that flooring or kitchen upgrade that you've always wanted to do. and you sit around and you never get to it until you're ready to sell the house. Then you're finally fixing everything up and you're going to move out and you're not going to get to enjoy a single thing you did on that house. It's all for
Right.
someone else, right? How much better is it just to fix these things as they come up? That way you get to enjoy the benefits now and when you sell the place. So right, this is a great opportunity to be fixing up your practice, streamlining it, making it more attractive. You're going to have more fun in business when things are streamlined. You're going to have more fun when you've got more income coming in so you can buy that equipment you want, so that you can fund those retirement plans, so that you can give back to the staff and make that difference. And so this is right. I don't want anyone listening to you. I don't want you to just think this is just a simple strategy. This really is holistic planning that ties in with everything that you're doing. And that's why I think Nick is such a fantastic partner, such a great company out there in terms of what they do. And so, Nick, some closing thoughts for us.
I would just tell you, I think it's an exciting. I say these things, and I don't mean to be pessimistic. I'm probably one of the most optimistic people you'll ever meet. I'm a cheerleader. I want you to be successful, and so what that requires is a good plan, right? It's a good financial plan. It's a good business plan. It's a good marketing plan. It's a good insurance plan. You need the right plans to be able to go after, after your goals and achieve your goals. And so I would just tell you this: the business of dentistry is going to be increasingly important. The game is getting a little bit more difficult than it was 10, 20 years ago, right? And so I don't say that to scare you. I say that to challenge you, because most dentists I know love to learn. And so this is a great opportunity to dive in and learn and immerse yourself in all these functions of business, in marketing, in the revenue cycle, in operations, in technology, right? There's so many changes coming out. I'm reading all about teledentistry and AI and the impact that these are, there's so many things at the forefront. And if you decide to have multiple practices, I've seen so many doctors do this where they add practices, and then, there's the complexity and the practice management and the scaling that has to happen. And it's just, there's tons of challenges out there for the hungry, for those who'd like to learn and immerse themselves in it. So I'm a big cheerleader. I think the business of dentistry is really important. And if there's anything we can do to help, by all means, please reach out.
Yep.
And we wish you nothing but absolute most health and happiness and success.
Yeah. How can we get a hold of you?
So probably the best way to do that, you can go to our website. It's www.5lakespro.com. So 5lakespro.com. And then if you can send me an email if you'd like. My email is Nicholas, Nicholas, .partridge, like partridge in the pear tree, at 5lakespro.com. So you can reach us that way, and then we'll be happy to circle up with you.
Excellent. And then what's really kind of the first steps once someone's contacted you? Do you do an analysis? Do you do some kind of overview? What does that look like?
Yeah, the first thing we want to get to know you, right? We want to know where you're at, what your goals are. What have you done in the past? What's the current lay of the land? So we'll want to customize a solution for you, right? So we don't just jam you into some kind of a package or something like that. So we want to really find out, what you're looking to accomplish, what you've done, and kind of where you're at to figure out what might be the right first step. And then usually it involves some kind of an analysis to figure that out. And then we sit down and kind of lay out all your options for you.
Oh, excellent. Well, hey, I'm Tim McNeely. I've been talking with Nick Partridge of 5 Lakes Dental Pro, and I'll tell you what an incredible conversation we've had. We've taken a deep dive into just the world of insurance and all the networks that are out there. Talked about the importance of finding the right ones, but really, I'm walking away feeling empowered because, like you mentioned, this is a David and Goliath battle out there, and we want you empowered to make strong financial choices for your patients, for your family, for the people that matter, so that you can keep it getting out there and changing the world for the better. So don't just listen to this, take action. That's the other thing that Dan Sullivan would tell you. That's the biggest thing. We can talk about these things all day long, but it's up to you to get out there and make your dream practice a reality. Once again, thanks for tuning in. I'm Tim McNeely, and I'm in your corner.